Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome into the NFL Opening Line Report Monday. Breaking it down, I am Drew Martin, joined by Teddy Covers right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel, getting you on the right side of some of these moves. We will hit quick at the top, the Monday Nighter. We got the Thursday Nighter, all the Sunday slate before the Monday game. And huge shout out to the over 10,000 people that watched last week, and even more so, the over 430 people that smashed that like button and the countless comments below. We will try to answer as many as humanly possible. Over 60 people commenting. We love to see that. So does the YouTube algorithm. We're trying to grow the show here. Teddy Covers, Drew Martin, breaking it down. NFL Opening Line Report. Teddy, welcome in. Happy Monday morning to you.
Hey, great to be here, Drew. And again, I want to reiterate everything you just said. Thank you for watching. Thank you for telling your friends. Please continue to tell your friends. We're getting 10,000 views. We're getting 60-plus comments. That's a good thing for the future of the Opening Line Report. I work hard on this show. Drew works hard on this show every week. We appreciate you guys taking the few seconds to just hit that like button. Give us a little bit of love. Thank you. Let's break it down, baby. We got a whole bunch of games to talk about.
Let's get after it, Teddy. Well, first, let's hit the Monday. That's tonight. Washington and Philadelphia. Eagles minus 11 home favorite. There is a 10.5 out there at DraftKings, Teddy. 43.5 being the total. Our producer Dan's heading down in a couple hours to tailgate, watch the game. If you had to give him a bet, which side would you put him on, Teddy?
I wouldn't put him on the game. I'm not playing the game.
Me neither.
Clear pass for me on this one. In terms of where the line is moving right now, it's not going anywhere. Mostly 11s. There are some 10.5s, a split line there. Total 43.5. And again, I'm not seeing any clear indicators that this line's going up or going down. I'm not seeing any clear indicators this total's going up or going down right now. It appears to be getting two-way action, both sides and total. From a line move perspective, there's no urgency for tonight's Monday Night Football affair. That being said, anytime you're playing at a public book and you're playing the favorite, you probably want to play it sooner rather than later. If you're playing the dog at a book that caters to recreational players, you can always wait until closer to kickoff. But I don't know you're going to find better than plus 11. I don't know you're going to find better than minus 10.5. So that appears to be where this line is going to hold.
Like it, Teddy. And yeah, Dan, maybe just enjoy the tailgate, man. Tough to step in front of the Eagles, and at the same time, tough to go against the divisional dog. We got Opening Line Report style starting right now with a Thursday night affair here, Teddy. Tennessee Titans, Green Bay Packers. We're seeing the Packers minus 2.5. There is minus 3 starting to pop up, but a lot of 2.5s out there, Teddy. 42 being the total. Titans at Packers on Lambeau Thursday night.
So if this is your first time watching the show, or if you watch the show many times, this is what I do. I'm going to give you a bunch of different lines. I'm going to give you the look-ahead line from last week. I'm going to give you my powering number. I'm going to give you where the line opened and where it is right now. And when we have a situation where the line is clearly moving in one direction on a Monday morning, what I'll do is I'll give an emergency betting alert to say, if you like this side, get it now while you can still get the best of the number. So that being said, game number 1 we're going to talk about, Thursday Night Football. We absolutely have an emergency betting alert right now. Dan, let's cue it up. Look ahead line here was Green Bay minus 1, total of 41. My powering number is Packers 2.5. The market's open 2.5, but we're seeing the markets move to 3 as we speak. And when you look at Tennessee's injury report for a Thursday night game, it's absolutely brutal. Titans played without 5 defensive starters yesterday, okay? And they lost 3 other defenders to injuries during the game. Yes, they won, but they were out first down, they were out yarded, they committed 9 penalties, and Derrick Henry was held to just 2, or the running game was held to just 2.7 yards per carry. Ryan Tannehill got back in the lineup for Tennessee, and he was solid, But we are talking about a veteran QB, an older QB going on the road with less travel, on a short week with travel. They've got 18 players on injured reserve right now. They've rostered 68 players through the first 9 games of the season. Tennessee has injury problems, and I think it's going to be difficult for them to put together an effective game plan on Thursday night. And of course, they've won 6 in the last 7 ball games, so it's not a team that has that sense of urgency. Green Bay saved their season yesterday, rallying from 2 touchdowns down in the fourth quarter. Aaron Rodgers, quote, last week was definitely a low, rock bottom-ish for sure. Not in a depressive isolationism way, but more disappointment. And I felt like it was only up from there. And obviously, yesterday, a good fourth quarter. Does that carry over? We'll have to see. But, Christian Watson, who had 3 touchdowns yesterday. Well, we've seen what we can be, and we've seen it was only us getting in our own way. All we have to do is believe. It's not like Green Bay is fully healthy whatsoever. They're missing a couple of key guys, and they had a big defensive injury to Rashawn Gary and Eric Stokes, both going on IR this last week. But it's clear the markets are moving towards the Packers right now. If you like Green Bay on Thursday night, find a 2.5 and lay it. I would expect this number to be 3 sooner rather than later across the board. The markets are not going to get excited about a banged-up Tennessee team against a resurgent Packers squad on a short week with travel for the Titans.
One emergency betting alert in the books. EBAs, be on our toes today, guys. I think we got a couple. Carolina at Baltimore. Top of the card here on Sunday. We're going down in rotation order, hitting the 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kicks first. 451, 452 here, Teddy. Carolina at Baltimore. We are seeing the Ravens minus 11.5. Couple minus 12 starting to pop up. 43.5 being the total. We got the Panthers and the Ravens top of the card on Sunday.
Look-ahead line here was Baltimore minus 12.5, total of 44. And again, the look-ahead lines, these are the bettable numbers at the Westgate Superbook last week. There were a couple where the Westgate numbers were slightly different from the market, because I think they took a big bet and adjusted. So we'll talk about that when those games pop up. This is one of them. But the look-ahead line was Baltimore 12.5 and 44. My powering number is only 11. The markets were 12.5 last night. We're seeing mostly 12s and 11.5 this morning. The total has been bet down a little bit. I could easily emergency betting alert this on the total or the side. The money's coming for the under. We have seen money for Carolina. All right, we may well see more. That being said, we're not around key numbers, and I'm not seeing the dramatic urgency here for either a Panthers bet or an under bet at this moment. I could emergency betting alert it, but we got plenty for today's show. I don't want to overdo it. Carolina now with the win over Atlanta. They're 2-3 since Matt Rule went out and Steve Wilkes came in. And they're making another quarterback change this week. It's going to back to Baker Mayfield. And there was some talk that there was going to be some Sam Darnold. That's not happening. Now P.J. Walker's hurt, so we expect to see Mayfield back in the equation. It's worth noting, that Carolina is actually a better running team, so they traded Christian McCaffrey. Running backs don't matter. 31 carries, 130 yards for Donta Foreman against Atlanta. I don't know if they'll be able to do that necessarily quite as easy against Baltimore, but when you're running the football and your defense is playing, you got a chance to win, and Carolina certainly had that on Thursday night, and they are coming with extra rest. Baltimore, too, coming with extra rest. They're off Monday Night Football, that win at New Orleans in a bye week. So in terms of what the markets are likely to do with Baltimore, again, they didn't play this past week. So all the movement on this line, all the Carolina support since it opened is based entirely on the Panthers having knocked off the Falcons on Thursday Night Football.
453, 454 up next. Cleveland Browns, Buffalo Bills. We are seeing the Bills at home -9, -9.5. There is a -8.5 out there as well, but mostly -9s here, Teddy. 47 being the total. Browns head down to Miami, now up to Buffalo, New York. Back-to-back road games here. A little bit of travel. What are we thinking, Browns and Bills, Teddy?
And from a look-ahead line standpoint, look, nothing's going to make sense here because last week at this time, we didn't think Josh Allen was even going to play last Sunday. We didn't know if he was going to play this Sunday. So it was 6.5 and got bet down to 4.5. The total was 44 and got bet down to 43.5. But all that's garbage. They're not real numbers, obviously, based on the fact that Allen played. And then now we're looking at 9s, as the opener. My powering number for this game is 11. And look, you're getting Buffalo off back-to-back losses. They no longer lead the conference. They no longer lead their division. They trail Miami right now. And of course, how did the Bills lose yesterday's game? A couple of, incredible circumstances. Justin Jefferson's catch, which he's not going to make that. Here's Justin Jefferson's quote on the catch on the final drive that allowed Minnesota to get down to the 1 yard line when they got stuffed and then Allen fumbled. But Jefferson's quote, "It felt like it was unreal, like a movie. The big games, the big moments when people are looking at you to make a play, that's what I like most." Jefferson had no chance to catch that ball, and he caught it, and it made all the difference in the ballgame. And then, Josh Allen with the 2 fourth-quarter interceptions and then the turnover in his own end zone obviously hands the game to Minnesota. Buffalo hasn't scored a touchdown in the second half of the game since week 6. They had a bye, 1 field goal, 2 field goals here. They haven't been able to run the football. Josh Allen's quote might be some bet on, though. Losing sucks. Sucks this way even more. Horrendous second half. It comes down on my shoulders and my shoulders only. Making the right decisions, making the right throw. This one's going to suck watching it. I'm not going to step in front of Buffalo this week. I think it's a good team. They've under-executed in recent weeks. They made mistakes down the stretch there. This is one spot where I would be considering laying more than a touchdown in the NFL. Again, my powering number here is 11. And, Cleveland, they gained 4.8. They allowed 7.3 against Miami. Quote, "We really didn't do any of the things you need to do versus that football team," Stephen Stefanski after the ball game. This team's 3-6 right now. They're not going to be relevant by the time Deshaun Watson gets into play. And, of course, this is a defense for the Browns that torched yesterday, and I have to call them underachieving right now. They didn't force a punt in yesterday's ball game. I don't know that it gets a whole lot easier against Buffalo. So we haven't seen the markets move upwards on this one. We're still sitting 9.5. Mostly 9s for the ball game. That being said, the recreational books already have a 10 for this ball game. So if you do like the Bills, it's not going to hurt you to get down on a Monday morning.
Next one up, Philadelphia Eagles, Indianapolis Colts, 1 o'clock Eastern kick here in Indy. We're seeing -9. That's the Philadelphia Eagles as the away favorite. Couple 8 in the hooks out there, 44.5 being the total. Of course, the Eagles playing Monday Night Football. That's tonight, guys. So if you like them tonight, maybe look to make 2 bets. If you're looking to go against them, maybe look to bet 2 bets against them. Teddy, any thoughts on that? What are your thoughts here in Indianapolis?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in a second because this is not a game where I'm looking to make 2 bets either way on Philadelphia, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. But the look-ahead line here was Eagles -9.5, bet up to -10.5 because early in the week last week, they were betting against Jeff Saturday in Indy. They're saying this is a train wreck for Indy and it's going to be a disaster. And, of course, the markets overreacted to that as they often do. Jeff Saturday, I'm not going to say he was fine. Saturday and a virgin play caller as well. We'll talk about that when we get to Indy. But certainly the markets didn't like that last week. So the money came against Indy on the look-ahead line. Total was 43.5, flat stayed there. My powering number for the game is only 7.5, which is well below the look-ahead number. And the market number today, which you're talking about, is 9s pretty much across the board. There's a prominent 8.5 out there for Philadelphia. And, of course, Eagles do play on Monday Night Football tonight, but they're playing a divisional opponent on Monday Night Football. If they win, they're going to be 9-0, and we're going to see an Eagles we're not going to see wise guy support for Philly next week. So even if Philly wins tonight, coming off the Monday Night Football game against a divisional foe, I would expect that this line is going to stay pretty flat. It's not a situation where boom, it's going to be Philly money tonight, and then boom, if they win and cover, there'll be a ton next week. I just don't feel it that way. And similarly, if the Eagles lose tonight, we may see hey, it's bounce back time for Philadelphia. And they may well end up being a bet on team for next week as opposed to a bet against. So it's not a spot this week for Philadelphia that I'm looking to make 2 bets on the Eagles or against the Eagles. It's just Monday Night Football, and then we'll concentrate on next week's game separately. It is worth noting. I mean, obviously you had, Jeff Saturday getting his coaching debut. You had Parks Frazier, who, as a play caller, I thought he had some issues yesterday, but they gained 7.0 yards per play and allowed 4.8. They gained 6.9 yards per carry with Jonathan Taylor and allowed only 3.2. Matt Ryan back behind center, 21 of 28 for 222 against a mediocre, well, I don't know if the Raiders defense is even mediocre, against a lesser defense. Obviously, Philly's defense a heck of a lot better than that, but there are some positive signs for our Colts team that is still very much alive in the AFC South.
Teddy, next game up, we got Washington at Houston, 1 o'clock Eastern, 457, 458 as we're making our way down in rotation order using the Wager Talk Live odds screen. -2.5, that's Washington as the short road favorite, 40.5 being the total. Interesting to note here, Teddy, Washington playing tonight, again, Monday Night Football, short week, back-to-back travel. What are your thoughts in Houston, Texas?
I think if Washington wins tonight, there will be market support for Washington against the Texans. Nobody's betting the Texans right now. Or no, I shouldn't say nobody. There's not a lot of support for the Texans. So unlike Philadelphia, where if you want to make one bet, I was saying that there's not necessarily a reason to make a second bet. If you like the Eagles tonight. If you like the Commanders tonight, you think they're going to be live in that game, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they look good tonight, if this line ends up being 3. Look at line, Washington 2.5, total 40.5. My powering number is only 2 for the Commanders, and the market's 2.5 and 40.5 this morning. I'm not seeing the indicators that it's going to 3 yet. But again, if the Commanders look good tonight, it may well do that. And look, for the Texans, a pretty dispiriting performance yesterday. They have the league's worst run defense. That continues to be a problem. They went 1 for 6 in the red zone yesterday. The defense didn't force a turnover. They were -2. Lovie Smith, we realize what the problem is and what the results say a little bit, but we're close. Eventually, I do think we're going to get over the hump. So far, we just finished off the first half of the season. We can still see promise for the second half. They are healthier at wide receiver right now, but Davis Mills at 57% completions when targeting wide receivers. That's bottom 5 among all quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Houston, not a team that is showing signs of dramatic improvement midway through the campaign.
Teddy, next game up, we got the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. 1 o'clock Eastern kick in this one, AFC East battle. Low total here, Teddy. We're seeing 38.5 in New England, -3. That's the Patriots as the home favorite. I know the Jets been playing some good defense here. What do we think of Jets and Patriots?
Look ahead line open, Patriots -5.5. Got bet down to Patriots -4.5. Got bet down to Patriots -4. My powering number was 3.5. Open 3.5, and now we're looking at 3s. And there's not even 3.5s out there to give you guys an emergency betting alert to take the Jets plus 3.5 because they're all gone already. There's been a steady flow of wise guy money towards the New York Football Jets and against the New England Patriots. And of course, the Jets coming off the biggest win of the Robert Saleh era, I would think, beating Buffalo. They intercepted Josh Allen twice. They sacked him 5 times. And this is all with a 4-man rush. They're not blitzing. The Jets' defensive line is blowing up the line of scrimmage. As long as you don't have to have Zach Wilson do anything, okay, the Jets will be fine. They can run the football, and they had 174 rushing yards versus the Bills. And that defensive front can control the flow. And Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed making plays at cornerback, and it's a problematic defense for opposing offenses. For New England, they're coming off a bye as well, but they had real shaky play off the offensive line last time out. It should have been a blowout against Indy, and it wasn't. They had 9 negative yardage plays, only had 11 first downs, only 3.3 yards per play. The defense only allowed 2 yards per play and had 9 sacks in that ball game, but there's been consistently shaky play along the offensive line in recent weeks. That's bad news against the Jets' front 4. Are we ready to accept the Jets going up to New England and being field goal dogs? Considering where this line has been in recent decades, this line is, it's a little bit, it's not where it's been. But from a fundamental standpoint, I don't know if the Jets are fat and happy coming off that win over Buffalo. Coming out of the bye, they will be motivated to do it again against New England on the road. They may have the personnel to do that. The market's certainly saying that in early betting action.
He's Teddy Covers. I'm Drew Martin. This is the NFL Opening Line Report each and every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining us live. Mike M in the house. Chad as well. Paul Blakeney watching from Essex, England on the other side of the pond. Let us know where you're watching from, where you agree, where you disagree, what you're looking to bet on this week's NFL card. All is welcome. Tyrone Boyd in the house, Big Daddy Coin, all you guys. Appreciate Cedric and everybody joining us live each and every Monday here. Feel free to throw out any questions in the chat box. And if you're watching on replay, feel free to ask any questions below on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. We'll answer them on next week's show. We got some from last week's show. We're going to try to hit at the end here. Next game up, 1 o'clock Eastern kick. 461-462. Detroit Lions, New York Giants. We are seeing the Giants -3.5. Teddy, we are actually seeing -3 with juice on that. That's the Giants as the home favorite. 45.5 being the total. That Lions game, man, I was on the other side of it, and they somehow won, unfortunately, for my pocketbook. Going on the road here to New York. What are we thinking, Lions and Giants, Teddy?
What are we thinking? We're thinking that Dan is going to press the emergency betting alert button right about now. Giants and the Lions. Look-ahead line was the Giants -4, total of 45. The total got bet up in look-ahead action up to 45.5, where it's still sitting. We're seeing even 46, and I'm actually seeing a 46. No, I haven't seen a 46.5 on the screen, but we're seeing over money for this ballgame. If you like the Giants and Lions over, bet it right now. We're also seeing a steady flow of money for Detroit. The 4 got bet down to 3.5. There were 3.5 last night. Today, it's a mixed line of 3.5. My powering number comes a little bit higher. I like the Giants. I got the Giants at 4.5. Nonetheless, there is clear market support for Detroit at the 3.5 number. If you like the Lions, grab them. If you like the Giants, find a 3. I wouldn't argue with grabbing in and locking in on that right now either. That being said, it's clear the early money has all come for Detroit. The wise guys not accepting the Giants as bigger favorites right now. And again, it's the Giants, they don't do things pretty, all right? But what they do against the league's worst run defense, they hand the ball off 42 times and they gain 191 yards on the ground, which may work against Detroit as well. They held Houston 1 of 6 in the red zone. Saquon Barkley, 152 rushing yards. Daniel Jones, when he doesn't have to do a lot, he's great. 13 of 17, 192 and 2 TDs. And they may be able to have similar success against Detroit. But Lions, that was a big win for Detroit yesterday. I had the over in that ballgame, and that looked dead early, and then boom, it worked out just fine in the second half between two teams that are making up big plays and giving big plays. You had the Kuda pick 6. That made all the deal in Detroit, who snapped a 13-game road losing streak under Dan Campbell. Jared Goff, quote, it's one thing to believe you can do it, and it's another thing to do it and finish a game like that. You want to learn to win in close games. You win close games. It's Dan Campbell quote. That's 2 now, 2 in a row for Detroit. Once you've been there, you start to figure out what you got to do. It gets easier. So you can understand why there's some Lions support here, but the Giants, all year long, and I've got the Giants and Jets both now in my power rating. Seattle right there, the 3 arguably biggest surprises, or 3 of the biggest surprises in the NFL. I've got them all power rated in the mediocre to pretty good range. I don't know if any of them power rated as elite. And yet, even with that mediocre to pretty good, the market's a little bit lower on all of these teams than I am, including the New York Giants. Lots of money coming from Detroit early. Again, you like the Lions, grab a 3.5 right now. We've seen nothing but Detroit money in early betting action.
Like it, Teddy. We got 2 1 o'clock Eastern kicks left. Also, keep in mind, guys, not a totally full NFL slate. We do have the Jaguars, the Dolphins, the Seahawks, and the Buccaneers. Those 4 teams having bye weeks for this upcoming NFL slate. So a pretty good size card, but not exactly filled up here for the Sunday slate. 463, 464 up next, Teddy. LA Rams, New Orleans Saints, 1 o'clock kick. We are seeing the Saints -3-point home favorites. 39 being the total there. What are we thinking in the Big Easy on Sunday?
I'm just checking real quick on the bye weeks because I wasn't sure if this is the end of the bye weeks or not. And of course, it's not coming up for me real easy. Week 14. What is this? This week? No. There's a whole bunch after Thanksgiving too. Arizona, Carolina, Atlanta, Chicago, Green Bay, Indy, New Orleans, and Washington between week 13 and week 14. Will all have their bye week. Sorry, I got distracted. Rams and the Saints. Look ahead line. New Orleans pick'em. Total 42.5. And then that got pulled off the board with the concerns about Matthew Stafford. My powering number for the game is pick'em. And the markets really like New Orleans at -3. Total 39. So from the look ahead line to the current line, a huge move to the under in this ballgame. And look, you can understand if Cooper Kupp hurt his ankle yesterday. Stafford's in concussion protocol. This team's now in last place in the NFC West. Remember, they won the Super Bowl 9 games ago. And now they're in last place in the NFC West. They're 3 games under 500 for the first time in Sean McVay's career. McVay's quote, we got to continue to have some resolve about ourselves and have some better execution. By no means am I saying there's no better positions that the players can be put in, but I do want to see us be able to capitalize and make some of those critical plays when they're there to be had. LA's a train wreck right now. The markets are telling us that. Blasted by Arizona at home yesterday, never in the game. And obviously with the backup QB. They also used a third stringer, Bryce Perkins, in that ballgame. But it's all certainly worth noting. The Rams, 9 games, 9 different starting offensive line combinations. But what do you do with the Saints? I mean, the Saints aren't a team I want to lay points with, not even close. 10 penalties, -2 turnovers last time out. Dennis Allen, whose Raiders team was all about penalties and turnovers when he was the previous head coach. Quote, there's a lot of different areas that we've got to improve on. We don't know if we're going to see Andy Dalton this week versus Jameis Winston. They couldn't run the football this past week. The offensive line down 3 starters against the Steelers. And the Saints are every bit as much of a train wreck as the Rams. And the Rams at least have the confidence they've done something before. Saints, I'm not convinced their problems are going to be solved. Bad tackling, bad penalties, bad offense, bad defense. A lot of problems in New Orleans. This is all, but again, the money's all come the other way. And may well continue to do so. As we speak, we have seen money come in for Indy. I talked about that earlier. I'm not convinced we're going to see Philly money for the game next week, Eagles, Colts. And right now they are betting Indy plus the points at Philadelphia. So there may be some urgency if you like the Colts to get down right now. That's a game we talked about a little bit earlier.
Absolutely, Teddy. Watching it on the Wager Talk Live odds, that's a big move. I mean, it was what, just nine?
Now, remember, from 9 to 7.5 is that. From 9 to 7.5 is 3 to 3 minus 120. So, the books they don't dance around the 8s because they know the teasers are coming in.
Okay.
So it's going from 9 to 8 / there are some books that move to 7.5. Other books are still at 8.5 right now. So it's one group making one group of set of wagers on this game. That's at least my interpretation of the line. When the screen goes black all at once, that means there's one group taking care of business and their followers and whoever else is watching the market. But it's not a scenario where there's boatloads of money just keeps coming. This is a group that wanted to take Indy right now, and frankly, I don't blame them.
Interesting. Okay, so 1.5, maybe as high as 2-point move here. And Teddy, is that something that you would think is like there's going to be, what do we call it, like steam chasers right now? People that just watching the screen and then go, oh, there's a big move, I'm going to follow it, and so it continues throughout the day, or no?
No. If you miss the best of it, you miss the best of it, and the bettors know that. Again, my parroting for the game was only 7.5. So I'm not surprised that the money's come on Indy. But I didn't downgrade the Colts. The markets went crazy when Jeff Saturday was announced as the head coach, and all I did was bet Indy yesterday. So the markets and I are slightly off on Indy right now.
Next game up, guys.
Money coming for the Indy right here. Maybe we're not as far off on Indy as we were 24 hours ago.
Yeah, sure. And it's not exactly, it's not 100% correlated with tonight's action either, meaning like going against Philadelphia tonight. So it is particular to the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about the Eagles, that it's not that like, whereas Washington, if you bet on them tonight, you bet on them against Houston. Philly, it's not as clear. And I try to, every week when we talk about that, I try to emphasize the ones that it stands out to me. Yeah, if you're making one bet, make 2. That's often the case, but it's not always the case. And with Philly, I'm not convinced that's the case at all this week. That's why we talked about that when we broke down that game.
Yeah, nice call there, Teddy. You're kind of being proven right on the screen here.
I'm trying, stuff, brother.
Teddy.
I'm trying.
Yeah. At Teddy_covers on Twitter. Check him out, wagertalk.com. Guys, if you're looking for an NFL handicapper, obviously knows his NFL, 283 and 228. That's 55% since week 1 of 2015. Including 8 football seasons. I know 55% doesn't sound too sexy, but there isn't a lot of people doing that in likely the most efficient betting market in sports betting, that being the NFL. Every place since February, also 55% this season, up 123% ROI since February of this year. And in the NBA, 61% in November, 83 and 44, that's 65% since February in the NBA. So NBA, NFL, killing it. Check them out. Teddy covers, wagertalksportsmemo.com. Last 1 o'clock kick here, Teddy. Heading to the ATL, Chicago Bears at the Atlanta Falcons. We're seeing the Falcons -3 home favorites in Mercedes-Benz. 49.5 being the total. What are you thinking in downtown Atlanta on Sunday, Teddy?
So, Drew, you do everything right, and I give you all the credit in the world, but you buried the lead there, man. NFL November, 71%. So we've been running good in recent weeks with the NFL. I have no complaints with how my season is going just about now. It's a real good weekend this past weekend. When we talk about the Bears and the Falcons, look ahead line. Atlanta open -5, total of 48. Boom. Ton of money for Chicago. Bet down to 4.5, then 4, then 3.5, and then they took it off the board. They were worried something was happening. My powering number was only Atlanta -2. The markets are at 3, basically across the board this morning. Total 49, bet up to 49.5, bet up to 50, and we may well see higher. No one's betting Bears games under right now. All right. I could easily emergency betting alert that. Let's just do it. Instead of saying I could, Dan, if you would. This total's going up, guys. Open 49. I'm seeing 49.5 out there. The leading indicator books are already at 50. Every Bears game has seen over money. The wise guys are going nuts with Chicago over the total right now. My clients and I cashed ticket with the Bears over yesterday. And even though they're running the football, 5 straight games with 225 rushing yards for Chicago. That's the first time that's happened in the Super Bowl era. All right. They're also the first team in NFL history to score 29 plus 3 straight weeks and lose all 3, which tells us about their defense. The Falcons are a complete mess on Thursday night. They couldn't stop the run. On offense, they couldn't run. They couldn't throw. Mariota had a rough game. The offensive line had a rough game. He got sacked 5 times, interception once. Arthur Smith, after the game, the head coach, quote, "It wasn't pretty. They won both sides of the line of scrimmage." Mariota, it starts with me. I've got to do a better job getting us into better plays when you're not consistently creating first and second down plays and stuff on third down. Certainly the Falcons, with extra time, should be better than they were in the Thursday night game. And this is an Atlanta team that has an offense that can move the football and a defense that can't stop anyone. The Bears have an offense that can move the football and a defense that can't stop anyone. Again, I'm not surprised at all. This total's been bet up. I would not be surprised at all to see this total continue to be bet up, even though from a pace of play standpoint, Atlanta certainly not one of the faster teams. Chicago, it comes and goes.
Heading to the 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific kicks up next. Bottom of the NFC West here, bottom of the barrel, Teddy. Las Vegas Raiders, Denver Broncos, heading a mile high. We're seeing the Broncos -2.5 point favorites. There are 2 -3s out there. 41.5 being the total. Raiders at Broncos, Teddy.
Yeah, the look-ahead line here, a lot of Denver money. Opened 1.5, got bet up to 3 at the Westgate. There were the prevailing market number was 2.5. I think the Westgate the opened low and took a bunch of Broncos money and therefore held the 2.5. Sorry, went to 3, and we're looking for some Raiders money at 3 as opposed to the market being at 2.5 because they took so much Denver money early. That's just a theory. I don't know that for a fact. My powering number was 3. The market opened 3 last night, and we've seen Raiders money total 41.5. The Raiders are 0-6 in one-score games, the longest active streak in the league. They're coming off a game against the Colts. Again, completely in disarray. Offense doesn't work, Colts. Raiders gained 4.8 yards per play and allowed 7.0. They gained 3.2 yards per carry with Josh Jacobs, allowed 6.9. They had 10 penalties. Third straight loss. They got booed off the field. All 3 of those losses have come to teams with losing records. Josh McDaniels is now 2-7. Again, the team made the playoffs last year. After the game, Carr gave this emotional speech about, I know where I stand. I love the silver and black. I'm going to give it everything I can every time I go out there, but I can't speak for everyone, for every man, what's going on in their head. That's not throwing your teammates under the bus, but it's also one of those quotes that's real dicey. I got my concerns about Carr. I got my concerns about the Raiders. The Raiders are not a team I'm looking to back right now, not even maybe. But, of course, the Broncos lose Jerry Jeudy yesterday. They lost their center, Graham Glasgow, and they lost their tackle, Billy Turner. Russell Wilson was under pressure on every throw. They have backups to the backups playing up front. They have the third player on their depth chart at right tackle and Quinn Bailey, the third player of the depth chart at center, the rookie Luke Wattenberg. They ran the ball 25 times for 65 yards. Russell Wilson was sacked 6 times. This is a team that was rested and ready off a bye. I know they've lost 5 of their last 6. Man, it's definitely frustrating, Russell Wilson. I feel like we could have won that game. They did so much right, shut down Derrick Henry. Held Derrick Henry to 53 yards. Nathaniel Hackett. It's another close game, another one-score game. The defense stepped up the challenge with Derrick Henry. The offense has to find a way. Plenty of chances. Didn't score a point after halftime. The market's not about to get real excited about Denver.
Shout out to the chat box here. I said these two teams, bottom of the barrel, Darker Divinity here. These two teams are under the barrel. Well played there, Darker. We got next game up here, 469-470, Sunday night game. I guess this game got flexed, Eddie, because it's not at the bottom of the card here. Yes. Kansas City at the LA Chargers. We are seeing the Chiefs -7 as the road favorites. There is one -6.5 at DraftKings, 50 being the total. Chiefs at Chargers Sunday night, Teddy.
Yeah, look ahead line here with KC -5.5 at the open, bet up to 6. The Chargers given them a lot of problems in recent seasons. It's been a real competitive series. Total of 50. Obviously, once the injury report came out before kickoff, as you saw the money flowing in on San Fran last night, the money flowed on the Chiefs, looking at the Chargers, again, playing with other top 2 receivers and both starting tackles last week. So the 5.5 got bet up to 6. 7 at the open. I don't know if it's going to necessarily go higher than that. Total still sitting, in this 49.5, 50, 50.5 range. Concerns about the Chargers' ability to move the football. Again, they got shut out after halftime last night. They only had 2 first downs after halftime. I think the 53 yards they scored after halftime was the fewest they had in any game since the aughts. And again, they scored another touchdown in the opening possession and didn't score another touchdown. There's 3 field goals the rest of the way, 2 of them on drives that started in 49ers territory. So right now, this is an offense that is, again, you're playing without your top 2 receivers and your start 2 tackles. It's going to be a problem. Chargers have to win lower scoring games, and that's not easy to do against Kansas City. Juju Smith-Schuster goes in the concussion protocol or whatever it was he got hurt yesterday, and then Kadarius Toney all of a sudden leads the Chiefs wide receivers in catches and yards. The loss of Tyreek Hill in the offseason, how's it going to affect the Chiefs? What are we going to do with Kansas City? What it's done, it's allowed them to spread the football around more. Every bit as dangerous in offense. Depending on the Chargers injury report, we could see additional Kansas City money this week. Chargers, a very banged-up football.
Cedric in the house from North Carolina. Houston, Texas in the house in the chat box. Abby Jackson as well. We got Thomas from Safety Harbor, Florida. He's a Pats fan, too, down in the Sunshine State. Thanks for letting us know where you guys are watching from. Mr. 24, 6,000 feet above sea level in Colorado Springs, home of the Air Force Falcons, I believe. So thanks for joining us live. And you're bringing up elevation here, guys. The last game on the card, that will be part of the breakdown. We got Dallas and Minnesota up first, though. 471, 472, 425 Eastern kick in this one, Teddy. Cowboys at Vikings. Pick 'em price. Some shops showing Cowboys -1, as high as -1.5 out there. 47.5 being the total. What are we thinking in Minnesota?
Look ahead line here was Minnesota pick 'em total of 47. The money on the look ahead line, guys, it was all Dallas. Dallas got bet up from pick 'em to -1 to -1.5. There were -2s out there. My power rating number came Dallas -1. The markets were -2 last night, and we've seen a little bit of Minnesota money. Down to 1.5. Who knows how crazy? That was a crazy game. That was as good an NFL game, drama-filled and exciting and point spread inside. Total, it was a great game in Minnesota from a fan standpoint. I don't often say that. I don't care how good these games are. All I want is to win bets. That was a heck of a game as a fan. But Minnesota, again, rallying back from 17 down and winning that game in overtime. And, that's the 5th time this season the Vikings have rallied to win a game when they've been trailing with under 3 to play in regulation. That's impressive. That's a team now that, again, that the deficit doesn't matter. The Vikings continue to put it together. Now they got Dallas here. They got New England coming up. They got the Jets after that. They're starting left tackle and 2 of their top 3 cornerbacks all got sidelined. in yesterday's ball game. You worry about coming back to earth, Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, first-year head coach. I'm going to remember this win forever. We just had to continue to trade those blows, body blows, haymakers, just try to be ready for the next snap as long as they let us to continue to play today. But again, they lost that game, and then Josh Allen fumbled it back for them. So they walk around feeling good. And, of course, Justin Jefferson was just unreal. I read that quote before. It's unreal, like a movie, what he was doing. I worry about Minnesota coming back to earth this week. That being said, here's Mike McCarthy rearing his head. Whatever the decision is, McCarthy's going to do it wrong. He should kick the field goal. No, then he goes for it. He should go for it. He should kick the field goal. Very frustrated with the end of the game, obviously, McCarthy said. And the biggest thing for us is we just need to go out here and learn from these games. I love these kind of games. That's what I told these guys. You need these tight games to get where you want to go. Look, last year they went to Minnesota and won with Cooper Rush behind QB. But their record with Cooper Rush behind QB, better than the record with Dak Prescott right now behind quarterback. Offense did not come up with the big plays in crunch time, in overtime either. Good game. I'm not sure where the market's going to move on it, and we'll just leave it at that.
Last game on the card for Sunday's slate, 4:25 Eastern, 1:25 Pacific kick. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh, AFC North battle here, Teddy. -5, that's the Bengals as the road favorite. 41 the total in the Steel City.
The look headline was Bengals -5.5, total 42.5. My powering number came 5.5 as well. The markets last night, 4.5, 5. There is a couple of 4.5s out there. Total was 42.5 last night. Nothing but under money has come on this ball game. That being said, at 41 right now, I'm not seeing any indicators that there's going to be continued under money. If you didn't get the best of the number, oh well. Last time we saw Cincinnati, flat spot. What flat spot? Jamar Chase, who needs him? That 21-1 first half, first down ratio against Carolina in the, was it 35-0 at halftime? Joe Burrow, a complete game for us, the first complete game of the year. Joe Mixon, 150-plus yards and 4 or more touchdowns. The first guy to do that in the NFL since Sean Alexander did it for the Seahawks in Week 4, 2002. Since he went into that bye a little bit fat and happy. Pittsburgh came out of the bye a little bit focused, and T.J. Watt's return made all the difference yesterday. Again, you talk about impact players. T.J. Watt, it was 28-10 in first downs against New Orleans. That being said, and they had 38.9 minutes of possession, or just shy of 39 minutes of possession. But Kenny Pickett was still the sack 6 times in that ball game. And that came with an elite running game. Najee Harris looked good. Had a season best 217 yards on the ground against New Orleans. These are positive signs. And of course, they didn't turn the ball over despite all those sacks. Pittsburgh, when they haven't turned the ball over this year, 3-0. Pickett's quote, "It was a step in the right direction. It's not where we need to be or where we want to be, but it's a good start." Pittsburgh showing signs. Obviously, much tougher competition this week than they just saw.
Vamos a Estadio Azteca. San Francisco at Arizona. Ciudad de Mexico. Teddy covers Monday nighter, November 21st. We got the 49ers -7, -7.5 point road favorites. 43.5, 44 being the total. Talked about the elevation here. I believe this is the highest played elevation for an NFL stadium. That's Mexico City. 49ers, Cardinals, south of the border here, Teddy.
Yeah, and I'm tempted to emergency betting alert this one because there's still a bunch of 7s out there, and it looks like the markets are going to 7.5. But that being said, there's so much that's going to happen between now and Monday in terms of an injury situation for Arizona that I don't feel super confident that even if the line moves to 7.5 now, that's going to hold there. So that's why I'm not going to emergency betting alert this game. Even though, look headline was 5.5, bet up to 6. My powering number was 6, and the markets were 5.5, 6 last night, and it's been nothing but San Fran money since. Total 45 last night, 45 is a look ahead, 45 today on Monday. So the total's doing nothing, but I'm telling you, the markets are in love with the 49ers right now, flat out. There was ample San Francisco support last night. They didn't cover the spread. They were certainly the better of the two teams in that contest. This is a team at 5-4 where there's urgency for after the suspect start, and they've certainly underachieved to their talent level. Kyle Shanahan after the game yesterday, quote, "I was proud of our team today. I want to play better. I want to blow people out. I want to score every time we go. Those guys are tough as nails to get to the end zone against, and they did that to us today, but we still found a way to win." Second straight game where the 49ers held their opposition scoreless after halftime. Remember, they go up 44 to Kansas City in week 8. Fred Warner, the linebacker, quote, "We know we're one of the best defenses in the league. We've shown that throughout the season. One bad game doesn't define you." For Arizona, look, it was Colt McCoy. Stopped the skid after losing 4 of their last 5. They found a team that was in more dire straits than they were in LA. They still had 10 penalties. Cliff Kingsbury, quote, "It's been a struggle. There's no doubt this season. We haven't played up to our standard yet or coached. But against another team that was struggling and trying to find an identity, to come here ourselves and find a way to get it done is a good step in the right direction." Arizona certainly not a team that's loaded with confidence right now. And just to double check on Kyler Murray, that's something I didn't check, which again, only so many hours in a day. But Kyler Murray I thought that would be questionable. And he's a question mark here. And that the biggest reason why I'm not emergency betting alert this, because if Kyler Murray does get upgraded to probable or ends up playing, we will see some Arizona money. Normally we see a boatload, but we'll see some in the 7.5s won't be out there. But San Fran, very much a popular wise guy team right now. Be aware, if you want the 49ers, I bet them earlier in the week, not later. But with this game, with the Murray quarterback question, you have to, it's not a situation where I'm saying, I'll lay the 7.5 now, because that may well end up being the worst of the number, depending on the status of Arizona's QB.
Good stuff from Teddy Covers at Teddy_Covers on Twitter. Guys, feel free to shout out any last-minute questions here in the chat box. We've got a couple minutes to answer them. And feel free to reply below in the reply section. Teddy, first question here, talking about the Monday Night Football game, which we will be able to hit quickly next week. The location, the elevation, the atmosphere, something I've noticed from watching it in Mexico City. Last year, I think it was kind of the loudest, best atmosphere that an NFL game had. Does any of that come into your handicap here with the 49ers and Cardinals?
Who gets the edge? I don't know. Yeah, exactly. When it comes to the total, all right. When you were playing an elevation, when you have one team that's used to playing an elevation and the other doesn't, the team that's used to playing an elevation theory has an edge. I'm not convinced that either team is used to playing an elevation in this matchup. You might want a deeper team for a Monday Night Football game in elevation where you can rotate more players in and out. San Fran probably with a deeper roster right now. Certainly, they got 8 guys back who were injured last night. So that works in their favor, I would say. But it's not anything where there's an easy handicap, right? I say, the fact that it's an altitude, it clearly favors Team A or the situation A. I don't know if it favors either time. It's something to be aware of. But from a handicapping angle, it doesn't. I don't think there's an edge to be had.
We got Cedric asking, are the markets crashing on LA? And I go to look at the odds screen. To tell you the truth, they've crashed on both LA teams, so I don't really know which LA team. Keep in mind, hey, speaking of Mexico City, the Chargers might be going there.
The markets are crashing on the the team that went to the Super Bowl last year that isn't even likely to make the playoffs this year. The markets, the long-term history of the NFL says these are bet against teams. And when you throw in the fact that right now the Rams don't have a quarterback or a receiver or a running game, the markets are crashing on the LA Rams. Very clear. That's the only way that a team like New Orleans can be favored by a field goal with the money coming on New Orleans. Again, looking at the screen right now, and this isn't official, but looking at the screen right, if you like the Saints, bet them right now at -3. This number's not coming down unless Stafford plays. And again, we have to see if that's another. I didn't emergency bet alert that because we don't know. And if Stafford ends up playing and he's supposed to be questionable and concussed and all of that, but the Cooper Kupp injury is the big one. Doesn't matter if Stafford plays if he has no receivers. Cooper Kupp has been the entirety of their offense all year. I'm not convinced he plays in New Orleans in either of the markets. That's why the money's coming for the Saints.
Teddy, another question here. Are there any good Super Bowl futures or any futures bets at all that you like right now?
I don't bet Super Bowl futures very often. The only time I'm betting Super Bowl futures is when a team is badly mispriced. We haven't seen that. I'm never looking for one of the favorites. It's not a bet that I look for. So I'm the wrong guy to ask. But who's live to win the Super Bowl? Miami would have been a good bet 2 weeks ago. That's a. Give me a second. Let me look at the standings for a minute. See if there's a team that I can pick out that's like mediocre right now that has real upside. So give me 1 second to pull that up. I never look at the standings.
I was kind of looking at it. I mean, I would go in the range of like 4 and 6 teams that could make the playoffs. I don't know, maybe Arizona.
I want a good team. I want a good Baltimore. Baltimore's a team that would make sense to me. The Ravens are 6-3. All right, they could easily be 9-0. They had 3 games where they blew double-digit leads on a defense that was leaky. They made multiple moves to shore up that leaky defense at the trade deadline. The Ravens are a team that absolutely stands out to me that could have some potential value. The 4 and 6 teams don't make the Super Bowl. They don't. Miami, Baltimore. That's 2 that would make sense to me. And your prices are wrong in the NFC. Your prices are just wrong. That's the 2 bets I made. Miami, Baltimore. I think both those teams are live. But maybe making them win the AFC as opposed to the whole shebang. I don't know. Bet it however you want it. It's not a bet I usually make. But those are 2 teams I think are live. Dolphins and Ravens.
Like it, Teddy. Yeah, keep in mind, guys, it costs.
Everyone's giving the AFC to Buffalo or KC. It's Buffalo or KC, Buffalo or KC. So every other team in the conference is priced like, yeah, whatever. And I'm not convinced it'll be Buffalo or KC. Funny things can and do happen.
Sure, get a little bit more plus there for your risk amount. Keep in mind, guys, futures bets like Teddy was kind of talking towards. They're more expensive to make. They cost more money. Therefore, kind of sticking to sides and totals in the minus 110 betting market, right, Teddy?
Yeah, and look, I love season wins. Season wins, there's 2 options.
Yep.
Over or under. When you're talking about winning the AFC, 15 teams are going to lose that bet. 1 team's going to win it. Talking about winning the Super Bowl, 31 teams are going to lose that bet. 1 team's going to win it. I like my over/under prop. My yes/nos. Will a team make the playoffs? Yes, no. Those are less juiced and more positive expectation than your big, And again, we talk about the future book wagers. Oh, wow, I cashed this 50-1. You find a live team at 50-1, sure, bet it. 80-1, absolutely. 25-1, knock yourself out. But realistically, that's a lot more about bragging rights than it is about positive expectation wagers. It's great to have, oh, look, I got so-and-so. I remember one time I cashed there with the Astros at a 50-1 to win the American League or whatever. And I was so proud of myself. I found this ticket, in June at the All-Star break. And I've showed it. Hey, look what I got, And I get it, especially as a recreational player, you want those bragging rights. It's huge to have those tickets. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
But if you're serious about actually making money, those aren't the bets you want to make. They're just not. That's my
words of wisdom. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Teddy. Spencer asking just another question or 2 here, guys. Fire away. What data points do you use to make your power rankings? ? And how does the difference in power ranking correlate to a point spread?
So I'm not purely a stats-based handicapper. There's no formula. I adjust each one of my numbers based on my perception of how good a team is, and based on my perception of how injured they are, and based on my perception of what their statistical profile is. It's all my perception. There's no algo. I don't spit all the numbers in and have it spit something out. It's me personally making the adjustments for each team every week, and that's the formula that works for me. I think I answered that question. Did I?
Yeah, you're good. Teddy, I'll just fire out a couple more questions because we got a bunch of them. Feel free to answer whichever one you'd like. Raven Ron asking, what's the odds that Josh McDaniels gets fired today? We got somebody asking Tampa Bay, the Bucks, to win the Super Bowl as well. That might be worth a look. Anything on those 2?
I don't think Tom Brady is a Super Bowl winning quarterback anymore. And Tampa's a team that has a big betting marketplace tax attached to it compared to what their record is, because the books have plenty of liability there. And when Brady was announced as coming back, they took a boatload of liability on Tampa Bay. So I don't know that the Bucks are a team that are they may be live, and an NFC's wide open, but I don't know whether you're getting true price for Tampa. But I wanted to touch on the other question too. Great questions, guys. Thank you. What was the other question? I wanted to touch on it real quick if you remember. I don't know. You read them off and now they're gone. I'm sorry.
No, I can find it.
Answer to one of them.
It's live NFL opening line report here each and every Monday. Actually, we got a funny one. I don't remember Raven Ron. He asked, man, I forget what it was though. Yeah, it is what it is.
I'm sorry, Raven Ron.
We'll get it on next week's show. For the sake of good live content here, I don't want to go too much further back in the comments, Teddy. But
sure.
No, great questions as always, guys, and huge shout out to everybody dropping a comment below. Well, there's a bunch of funny ones in here, Teddy. If we got the, I guess if we got time to go over it.
I'm putting Drew on the spot here. And just, like when you're trying to read the comments as you're going live, it's hard because the new comments that come underneath it, and you got to keep on having to scroll up, and there's no way to highlight it. So I get it. It's not always, you're like, oh, I saw this comment, and if you don't cut and paste it right away,